Solve a linear equation using the TI-83 or TI-83 series of calculators. Linear equations. An algebraic equation is a statement that two expressions have equal value. Solving algebraic equations involves finding values for a variable that make the equation true. A linear equation in one variable can be written in the form ax plus b is equal to c, where a is not equal to 0. Equivalent equations are equations with the same solutions in the form of your variable on the left hand side or your number or your constant on the right hand side, or vice versa. Let's look at the 6 steps to solve a linear equation. Multiply both sides by the least common denominator to clear the equations of fractions if they occur. Use the distributive property to remove parentheses if they occur. Simplify each side of the equation by combining all like terms. Get all variable terms on one side and all numbers on the other side by using the addition property of equality. Get the variable alone by using the multiplication property of equality. And lastly, check the solution by substituting it into the original equation. Solve linear equations. Solve the following. 3 times the quantity y plus 3, all divided by 5, is equal to 2y plus 6. Here's the analytic solution. First, we shall remove the parentheses by multiplying both sides by the least common denominator. So notice that the least common denominator here is 5, so we multiply both sides by 5. Once we multiply both sides by 5, notice on the left hand side our 5's will cancel. The next thing we would do is simplify, and when we simplify we would distribute our 3 on the left hand side. 3 times y is 3y. 3 times 3 is 9. And on the right hand side we would distribute 5. 5 times 2y is 10y, and 5 times 6 is 30. Next, we'll add negative 3y to both sides. Once we add our negative 3y to both sides, notice on our left hand side that our variable will cancel. Next, we'll add negative 30 to both sides. Notice on the right hand side our number or our constant will cancel. Next, we'll simplify. We'll divide both sides by 7 for a final answer of negative 3. Let's look at the calculator solution. And for this particular example, we'll be using the intersect method. First, we'll enter the grapher, and we'll let the left hand side of the equation be set equal to y sub 1, and we'll let the right hand side of our equation be set equal to y sub 2. So we'll use y equal to enter our grapher. On our y sub 1, we'll put in the left hand side of our equation, and since we have a fractional bar, what I'll do is I'll use a set of parentheses around the top and also a set of parentheses around the bottom. So I'm going to enter this as begin parenthesis 3, another begin parenthesis. I'm not going to use a variable y, I'm going to use a pre-built-in x variable plus 3. I'm going to close off my beginning parenthesis here and my beginning parenthesis for my numerator. And I'm going to divide that by 5, and I'm going to encase 5 in a set of parentheses. For y sub 2, I'm going to put in 2x plus 6. And now we'll graph the solution. So we'll simply press graph. Next, we'll calculate the coordinates of the intersection. So we'll use the calculate function. Calculate is located above trace, and notice that it's a yellow function, so I'm going to use second and trace to get my calculate function. I'm going to scroll down to my fifth option, intersect. Notice that the calculator asks for a first curve, and it puts the cursor on the y1 equation. I'm simply going to press enter. Notice it asks for a second curve, and it places the cursor on my second equation, my y2 equation. I'm simply going to press enter. For guess, I simply hit enter. The solution is the value of the x coordinate. Therefore, our solution is -3. Next, we'll take a look at the solve method. So we should enter the catalog and search for the solve function. So notice that the catalog is above 0 and it's yellow, so it's a second function, so it's second and 0. From this point, I can do one or two things. I can either scroll down to my S's, or I can take a shortcut by locating my green lettering for S and pressing that key. And notice it takes me to my S's. So from this point, I'm simply going to scroll down to find solve. And I'm going to press enter. And here's how the solve function works. You must enter an equation, but you must be sure that the equation is set equal to 0. We'll then enter our variable, in this case x, which is here, and then we'll put in a seed value that's any random number. So our equation, when we set it equal to 0, we would simply subtract 2y from both sides, and we would simply subtract 6. I'm not really going to simplify anything. I'm going to put it in the calculator in this long form. So once again, I have a fractional bar, so I'm going to use a set of parentheses around the numerator and the denominator. So that's a begin parenthesis 3, another begin parenthesis x plus 3, and just be mindful to close that off twice, divided by 5 minus 2x minus 6. I have to use a comma, which is located above 7, and I want to put in a seed value, and here I'm just choosing 8. There's nothing special about 8, it's just any random number. And if we can hit enter, we see that the solution is -3.